Okay, welcome back, everybody. This is episode 393 of the John 1911 podcast. Today is Wednesday, January the 28th, 7:14 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I guess I am really time stamping this out of habit because nothing's going to really happen that I need to worry about, it changing after I publish the pod. So, for those of you wondering why we've been a little quiet, it's been a little bit since I've done a pod. A little bit longer than I like, especially in 2026. Well, we got hammered with snow, which caused some issues, and we had an illness in the office, which caused scheduling issues for me. And so between 14 inches of snow and then having to cover some stuff, it's just been a little bit too much. So I am actually back at the John 911 range tonight. I'll be here for a couple of days working on stuff. I'm actually hoping I got to get the driveway cleared so we can get some staff people in here. I'll do that tomorrow with the tractor. But I'm actually hoping to work on some actual workbench stuff. Like my immediate, I shouldn't say this. My immediate hope is to work on the Smith & Wesson 547, the 9mm revolver. Chris wrote me long instructions for, and that is up next on the list. That I'm going to work on that tomorrow. That is what we're doing because, if I'm going to shoot, I'm going to shoot that out in the, freezing cold weather. I think it's about 14 degrees outside right now. So here's what we're going to do. Since it's going to be a solo episode, I'm going to go over a couple of the things that I saw I didn't see it. Like many of you, saw the published reports from SHOT Show. So some things did catch my eye. Some things were super interesting, and some things were like, whatever. It's kind of bullshit, but, here we are. So let's just start off with the first thing. First thing is SNT Defense or Daewoo. They did show up at SHOT Show 2026, so kudos to them. But in all fairness, they do maintain an office in Las Vegas, and supposedly a warehouse, and so it wasn't that big of a lift for them to get there. So, they showed up. I hope, I'm not trying to be negative. I just hope against hope that a Daewoo in America, SNT Defense, isn't really just some South Korean businessman that's on his never-ending American vacation, and he's convincing corporate back in South Korea that, that this is viable and it can be done and they can bring weapons here and make tons of money and, yada, yada, all that kind of stuff. So let's talk about if that's not true. Let's talk about what they showed up with. So multiple people on the internet posted videos and interviews, very informative. In my opinion, as someone who has gone to SHOT Show, who has literally worked booths at SHOT Show, the best way to really consume SHOT Show, unless you're out there to meet people and actually have meetings, is literally YouTube videos and the content creators. I mean, we really didn't quite have that back in the day when I was working SHOT. There weren't really that many people running around with cameras at SHOT Show. Media were mostly traditional media. But anyway, to my pleasure, they still had a K2. You might call them the DR100s, or sometimes the DR200s. They did show up with what I call the basic go-to Daewoo rifle, which is the K2 with the folding stock, with the reciprocating charging handle. They have that. It's imported, but it looks brand new, and they're claiming that they're still making them, and that's the one that I really want. So they said that they're going to try to work on that. Now, folding, things like folding stocks and muzzle devices and, all this kind of stuff that, the point system or whatever, we'll see. I mean, I think the fact that SNT has shown up at Vegas again, that is keeping the Daewoo prices on the secondary market a little depressed. Some people are aspirationally publishing stuff, wanting things for like $3,000, $3,500. We've been circling some of these K2s for a while, and I don't want to pay I don't want to pay $3,500, $3,600. I don't want to pay $3,000, especially if I can just get a brand new one. Assuming it's all the same. And I would think it would be if it's real. So that's a relief that seems to still be on the table. But they showed up with a couple things, and it actually even gives me a chance to talk about something that I had mentioned on a video about a Daewoo rifle that we do own, and it goes to show that the way I talked about the gun isn't wrong. It's actually right. It's the way Daewoo in South Korea looks at it. So there is a gun that we have. It's called the K1A1 in the United States. It's basically it's a 5.56 rifle that has a telescoping wire stock. And, in America, it's got the 16-inch barrel, which is fine. But really, this gun, even though it's 5.56 and how old it is, the South Koreans designed it as kind of a subgun. Like, they look at it as a subgun. They made it as a subgun. And there were a couple reasons for that. I mean, one, they wanted something small, portable, that they could snoop around. I get the feeling that it's a lot of their special forces or, there's an application possibly for, people in vehicles and whatever. So I don't want to make it all like, Night Elf, space shuttle door gunner, crazy shit. But, there's this K1A1. We've got one, and they showed up with them, and they came up with a variant that they're apparently making in South Korea. It's probably being issued to these people that I'm mentioning, the Special Forces people. They're calling it the K7. And it looks like a K1A1, except it's like a K1. I would call it, to describe it to you, it would be the Daewoo SNT version of an MP5. It's a K1A1 it's 9mm, and it takes multiple. They have options for different magazines. I think they even do a Beretta magazine. I think maybe a Colt magazine, but they do different magazines you can select from, because I guess they export them around the world. And it is an integrally suppressed barrel on it, and it's the coolest little subgun that you've ever seen. I mean, it's just really, really interesting gun. They're talking about trying to get that into the U.S. Now, I don't really know how they're supposed to get that. I mean, they're going to have to deal with suppressors here. Like, they're going to have to find a suppressor manufacturer in the United States to deal with this. But the fact that they showed up with that and actually brought it in, maybe it's not some South Korean business guy on his eternal American vacation, but it's pretty interesting. I thought it was exciting. And so maybe we'll hold off on buying a Legacy K2, and, maybe we'll, pick up a new manufactured one. They had also shown some AR variants, and they're a little bit different. They've got their own take on some stuff, and they changed some things. Those obviously would be first. I think they were discussing possibly bringing some of the regular AR stuff in this year. I don't think they really gave a convincing K2 argument. Maybe 2027, which is, again, we're another year. So I'm, statistically speaking, things tend to revert to the mean. And so if you were to say, well, they're not bringing them in, and they haven't been bringing them in since 1989 or some post whatever, post ban whatever examples possibly, and then they keep talking about they're going to bring them in, but they haven't brought them in. You can kind of take that as things are going to revert back to the mean. But I'm going to be positive about it, and maybe we'll keep this alive. So let's talk about the Scar. Meet the new Scar, same as the old Scar. I saw a video. I can't remember who did the video. I don't know if it was the Firearms Blog or one of these people, but they were talking to Ben Voss. And Ben's been with FN forever. And they were talking about the Scar. And so they've they were showing off their scars, and basically, if you want the long story short, the new scars are suppressor friendly. Now, because they have adjustable gas on them, they're also changing the shoulder on the barrel. They're putting a bigger shoulder on the barrel, so you can more easily get a suppressor on the guns. It wasn't clear to me if they were trying to argue that you need to use their suppressor on the gun for the warranty, or if that was an argument they were trying to make on why they don't warranty the other guns with suppressors. And then there was some back and forth talking about how, well, you know, if you use a suppressor on an old SCAR, we're not going to warranty if if we can determine the damage or something that failed can be somehow connected or related to using a suppressor. But don't worry, now that we've discontinued a gun, we're going to tell everybody that. But the warranty for the rest of the gun was fine. It was never out of warranty or not going to have the warranty voided. And it's like, I would be honest, it was some of the most chicken shit corporate speak, double talk, fucktard shit that Ben Voss has ever said, and I was kind of embarrassed for him. With that said, let's move on. A couple things positive about FN and the SCAR. They iterated and they specifically stated, not intimated, they stated that they were going to continue supporting, quote, the legacy SCARs, and they were going to try to make any new parts or new things backwards compatible, which I thought was interesting. The new SCARs, I believe, also they are changing I guess they're putting some kind of recoil buffer system, and they're breaking up the bolt carrier, so maybe it's two pieces, and so that will slow down the recoil impulse and not break optics. At the same time, Ben Voss is saying that we have no proof that these break optics, but we're going to re-engineer the gun so it doesn't break optics. Again, it was just the double talk coming out of FN at this show was a little batshit. Like I don't know what Belgium makes them do. Like they can't admit anything, never ever admit anything ever. But it's like, okay, fine. I think they said that well, I noticed in the demos that none of the charging handles are reciprocating. They all seem to be ambi, which is interesting. I personally would probably prefer a SCAR that doesn't have a reciprocating charging handle. I have a SCAR 16. I've thought about converting it to a non-reciprocating, but I don't. We'll see. I mean, I got to pull that gun out and mess with a little bit. I think they said that they are changing the trigger in the SCAR rifles, but maybe with some kind of cartridge system. It wasn't really clear to me, or maybe it's compatible with ARs. I shouldn't really say that, but something's different with the triggers. They're doing something different with the triggers. But long story short, new SCAR rifles, basically same as the old SCAR rifles. They're going to have adjustable gas. That's a good thing. Doc, loved his SCAR 17. He went to a SCAR 20S. He wanted to put a Thunder Beast suppressor, and it was just, that SCAR 20S was just a shit show. Like, it just is a precision rifle. I mean, Doc could do anything he wanted with that SCAR 17. I mean, from 0 to, he could stretch it to about 700 yards. He could basically lay it down. He could either use it as a battle rifle or use it as a precision rifle. And he got kind of talked himself into getting to the SCAR 20 with, the better stock and the longer barrel and all this. And it just turned into a nightmare. And he just fought with that gun and fought with it. It had random flyers, wasn't suppressor friendly, just all kinds of just problems, and ended up just getting rid of it and going back to bolt guns. So, I'm not that hip on the SCAR 20s. I'm still not. In theory, I would have liked them on paper, but, again, possibly with this adjustable gas, this could be a lot better. if you're interested in trying one and, you know, you can get it to work out great, definitely leave a comment on the podcast listing below. So here's something I thought was pretty interesting. Zastava has decided they're going to try. They're going to bring in their M84. It's like their belt-fed machine gun. They're going to do what FN is done with the 249S, which is on my long-term to-buy list, and I feel like if I don't buy one soon, I'm going to miss out. But neither here nor there. Zastava wants to do the M84 as a semi-auto, so they're going to have to make some changes to it, obviously. And they were talking between $5,000 and $8,000. I mean, if they're at $6,000 or $7,000 for that, I think that's dynamite. I thought that was a very interesting development. That definitely got my attention. But what it also got me thinking was, because I noticed there's a number of FRTs floating around now, and I guess FRTs we're all doing this now, which is fine. I just I don't want the ATF to shoot my dog. I don't want to shoot your dog either, but I don't want to shoot my dog first. So, I'm just, So anyway, the Zastava M84 is a belt-fed gun. And with all these FRTs, it makes me wonder, all these semi-auto belt-feds are now suddenly, with these FRTs, becoming really interesting options, like for people. If you wanted to have that rapid fire, if like I heard an interview. A guy was talking to, was it called FN Rifleworks? There's a company that specializes in modifying FN guns, and they showed up with an FRT at SHOT Show for the P90, and which is cool. And I was like, the P90, that little PDW gun, really makes sense as a full auto. Again, I'm just using it as a placeholder here. Semi-auto, it's not really that, it's not really that different than a lot of other things, but but is rapid fire. But they were talking about, and there was a demo showing them shooting their FRT and their P90 that you can buy, and it was like $450. It was a fairly expensive FRT, and it was, well, how many rounds can you get out of it? And the guy goes, well, we're getting about 1,000 trigger pulls a minute. It was like, I was like, well, that's the world we live in now. With the FRTs, it's a trigger pull. So I'm getting about 1,000 trigger pulls a minute. And it's like, wow, just American ingenuity. It's awesome. So, Zastava M84, 249S from FN. These are all interesting. I'm just at one point with dealing with all these FRTs. At what point is like Geisley going to just come out with an FRT? Like, I do wonder, like, there's companies that, they're known for triggers. Like, that's really their bread and butter. Geisley's moved on to guns, but you've got Timony, you've got Geisley, you've got, I could name half a dozen more companies, but how long until we finally get one of these major companies coming out with FRTs? Like, it's going to have to happen because they're going to start losing market share. It's just, I don't know. Would you buy a Geisley FRT? Would you buy a Geisley FRT and put it in your Zastava or your FN 249S? I would. I think that would be super interesting. Okay. I guess I have to talk about this gun because I think it really was one of the big hits at SHOT Show, and it was worth mentioning. I don't claim to understand a whole lot about it, and I don't even know if I actually have the correct name for this gun. I guess it's called the Dragon, or the Dragon pistol, and possibly made by a company called Ride Out. So is Ride Out the company, then Dragon is the pistol? Like, I never felt so old like I do right now. So, it's going to be hard to describe this gun to someone that hasn't seen the video, because I'm going to sound like a crazy person. So this is a 9mm handgun that has an extremely low bore axis, that is, I guess it's lever locked, and the whole front of the gun, muzzle of the gun, muzzle devices can come on and off. And actually, there's a retaining device on the front of the gun that also, I think it retains the barrel, and it also works as a muzzle device for different things, and it uses a tri-lug system. But then it's got a red dot in the back. The red dot does not reciprocate when you're shooting the gun because the bolt and the flapper lock, the lever lock, moves on a carrier which goes under the red side. This thing sounds nuts as I'm talking to you about it. And a couple of things. I mean, it's quite controversial. I mean, anything new, everyone hates. Like, I remember when everyone hated Glock. And people like, oh, I always hate Glock. No, you don't get it, dude. Like, I lived through people hating Glock like I hate commies. Like, I'm telling you, like, it's just, the amount of hate. And there's a couple different reasons to hate this gun. It's expensive, and so you can play the class warfare game where it's like, for that kind of money, I can buy so many whatever. And I think they were trying to say it might be $3,700. I honestly thought it would be more, especially considering it's, low production volume and, there's nothing common with this gun. It doesn't use any tools to take it apart. You can drop all these different things in it, like, muzzle devices and, it's pretty modular. Like, it's pretty interesting. So here's kind of the thing. It's like, it gets all the buzz, it gets all the publicity, it gets all the people talking about it. And will we ever see this gun come to market? Statistically speaking, using return to the mean, statistically speaking, that would be no. And I'm not singling out Ride Out and the Dragon pistol. I'm just saying, this is not, if you're somebody, we had somebody come in and ask, is this the future of pistols? And it's like, dude, chill out, slow your roll, brother. Like, we don't know what this is. Like, the Browning tilting action is the standard for handguns in the 21st century. And it has been for a long time, really almost over 100 years. So I'm open to the idea of really smart guys approaching things and coming up with new ways of doing things, just like John Browning did, just like Gaston Glock did. But I take a wait and see attitude. Will we get one of these guns? Possibly. I'm not gonna spend more than market value for one, but it's interesting. It wouldn't be bad to have one in the reference collection, and it'll be interesting to see. Well, let me say this: if we were to acquire one, why would I acquire it? I mean, I guess I don't really know other than just having it and playing with it. But we are not going to be the person that puts 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000 rounds, shoot matches with it, go to classes, go to trainings, have stuff, functions here at the range. Like, I just don't care about it that much. It'll be interesting to watch the videos, just like I watch the stuff from SHOT Show now. It'll be interesting to watch the usual suspects on the internet get this gun and be like, I'm going to carry this gun every day for a year and see what I can do with it, in so many rounds and all that. It'll be interesting. And you never know. This may turn out to be the greatest thing ever. Maybe it'll never jam. Maybe it'll handle heat well. Maybe it'll do X, Y, Z in 1, 2, and 3, and it'll be the new standard. Like, it's always possible. Or it could fall flat on its face. Just looking at the gun, and again, it's hard for me to describe this gun. If you haven't seen it in the videos, we'll have a link to it in the comments on below the show notes. I worry about heat with the gun. I worry about if the recoil, the recoil rod, the spring guide rod, if it will hold. Just looking at just because I saw them take the gun apart, and I'm looking at this ledge on this recoil spring, and I'm like, I'm suspicious if that's going to be a failure point. Then the other thing I'm real suspicious on, again, never handling the gun, just seeing a couple videos, is this tri-lug mounting system up front. I am starting to wonder if that's going to end up taking a lot of recoil, backwards and forwards. That is even more, like suppressors that use that system don't take a lot of the beating of the slide. They do, they take forces, but I feel like maybe this tri-lug system, unless I'm not understanding it, because I guess it's got a fixed barrel, but the way stuff slams forward, I'm suspicious that tri-lug system, if you were to say, hey, Marky, put down $100, what are the failure points on this gun? Would you guess? My 2 failure points are going to be that recoil guide rod, the front of it, where there's a little 90-degree angle on it, and then on the edge of it, and then it's going to be the tri-lug system. And it'll be fun to kind of casually watch and see whatever. We are not paying up for one of these. We're not going to pay 1 red cent more than for one of these. And we've always wanted a Hudson H9, and we still haven't gotten one. And shit, I knew Cy Hudson when he was in the Army. So, I don't even have one of those guns. So, yeah, Ride Out Dragon, very interesting gun. Don't buy it. Leave it to people like, I'm not even going to say us. Leave it to people that, they want to ride the content train on that gun, or the TLDR, the TLDR, y'all go first. Let me know how it goes and, catch up with me later. Now, here's one which I thought was interesting for a multitude of reasons, and it's a revolver. It's a revolver development. And Pietta out of Italy, they have released a clone of a Colt Python. And you're like, too late for them because Colt just already reintroduced the Python. And, I like the Colt Python. I like the new Pythons. They're more durable. I think the double action trigger is better than the original Pythons. And, they don't shoot themselves out of time. And I prefer the new ones. However, the argument was made that we'll never ever see the old original Python because everything has to be hand done and, it's not cost effective and for whatever these reasons. And well, Pietta is coming out with, they've got Python revolvers and they're copies of the original, like down to the last part. So they're doing it. And if you're someone who doesn't like the new ones because you're a traditionalist and you like having your gun shoot out of time, I'm just kidding. You can get one of these Piettas. And now here's the other thing that, even if you're like, I'm not going to get me one of them, I'm going to get me a original one. Well, they're crazy expensive. And one of the problems we always had with the Colt Python, that's why we ended up getting one of these new generation reproduction ones from Colt, was we want a shooter. We want to shoot it. We want to enjoy it. We don't want one that's, because the Colt Python is like the Chevy Corvette. Okay, you get 2 types of people. Okay, you get the dude that buys the Corvette. He never drives it. He wraps it in plastic, leaves everything on it, puts it in his garage, and he thinks it's worth a fortune because it's brand new. And it's like, dude, they made fucking hundreds of thousands of these. Or you get the dude who has the Corvette. It's on its 8th owner and it's 15 years old. And for some reason, because it's got a white stripe as opposed to a blue stripe or whatever, it's somehow rare. And this is, and it's like, and they want a fortune for it, even though it's ragged out. And that's all there is on the secondary market for the original Colt Python. You either get one cherry-ass mint, you spend a fortune, and as soon as you scratch it, you lose your ass on it. Or you get one that's ragged out, you still got to pay a fortune. And it's like the whole market is just fucked up. And that's always been a huge problem with the Colt Python situation in the United States. And Pietta Well, Colt came out with theirs, and they've got the blue ones, which I think are gorgeous. Pietta is got these Pythons, but here's something else that you need to consider. Even if you're a snob and you're like, I can't, I don't want to deal with these, Italian original Colt Python clones. If you're big in the Colt Python game and you want to shoot your Python and it goes out of time, or something else goes sideways on that gun, good luck getting parts for it. Good luck. Well, these Piettas, man, that's a source for parts. You can keep these guns running. I think this is fantastic news. This is the market kicking the shit out of these Pythons and making them what they're supposed to be, guns that are shot, instead of making them collectible. And I don't know. Are we going to run out and buy Pietta? No. I've got the stainless Python that I want to shoot on our bullseye range. But if you're someone that wants a shooter, a supposedly high quality, brand new, but you're not going to lose your ass on it if you shoot it, original format Python, Pietta steps up and you're in the game. Thought this was worth mentioning. I'm not as down on the M7 as the U.S. Army's M7, 6.8 by 51 277 Fury guns as most people. I understand all of the problems and the loadouts, and I get all of it. And I don't dispute any of it. I think it's all true. I think the chances that the Army actually ends up running this gun in any serious numbers are, again, return to the mean. We've been M16, M4 for 60 years, and I see no real reason why that's going to change. So, but with that said, SIG showed up at SHOT Show with a new version of the M7 that is a light, I guess they shaved a pound off the gun. And so it's lighter weight, and it's lighter weight. And a pound off that gun is significant. I mean, again, it just adds more recoil, but thought it was worth mentioning. And then it kind of got me thinking a little bit about the M7 and the 277 Fury, just from not from the Department of War and NATO and logistics and engagement distances and loadout for an individual, soldier. I'm not talking about any of that. But if you start thinking about it just as like the American consumer, supposedly these CQB M7s are a little bit more accurate than the full-size ones because they think it's because the barrel's a little stiffer because it's shorter, which makes sense. But it's like, well, 277 or 6.8 by 51, and you're a civilian, you're a hunter, or you're a sportsman, or you're a backcountry guy, or someone with a truck gun. You could kind of make an argument, like, can you imagine like a 277 Fury gun? You're on a fly fishing trip, and instead of a lever gun, you've got this thing across your back, and the brown bear comes out of the woods, and you've got the 277. Like, you can make an argument, possibly. What if the 277 becomes the 21st century version of the 270? For like the average American, you can handle everything in North America, every two-legged and four-legged critter. You can get TTSX bullets. You can get ball ammo. You can, I don't know, like you just start thinking about, it's like, I don't know, that's interesting. Like, you can do a lot with that gun. Again, if you're not trying to have to carry, 240 rounds or more, and, for your loadout and all that kind of stuff. So, I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Thought it was worth mentioning, and so I'm mentioning it. So, well, here's let me take a look. Looking to make sure I'm not making a liar out of myself. This is going to be the only 1911 thing that I'm going to mention. Maybe there's more. I just didn't detect it yet. And I'm sure when I get the boys together later this week, we'll all talk about it. There was a gun from Nighthawk that I have to give them some kudos on. And I saw an interview with someone from Nighthawk on this, and I thought it was worth mentioning here. They call it the Ultimate GI 1911, and what it is, it's kind of a GI format. It's got the GI thumb safety, and it's got like a kind of a spur hammer, but I think that's a little short. I don't think it's got an actual beaver tail on it. It's just got the Tang grip safety on it, if I can recall. But, they've dehorned it and, whatever, and it's all new. But they kind of described it as like a GI resto mod. And, I got to admit, I thought that was kind of neat. I thought that was, if you want a GI gun, you want it in 45, but, maybe you want it dehorned, nice finish, maybe just a little bit better sights on it, adjust the hammer a little bit so it doesn't make you bleed. I thought it was a cool gun. I thought it was worth mentioning, so we'll put a picture of it in the comments below. Another thing, the COA red dot. So when Aimpoint came out with the COA, which I think is going to be unless there's some development where they start having issues like the Acro, the COA is going to be the standard really for red dots for a long time for actual duty grade stuff. Aimpoint has released the COA cut. Well, I could be a douchebag. The COA cut TDP. They've released the machining specs for the cut to like 20 or 25 different companies that I think they said have asked for, information on that cut. So you're going to start seeing that red dot mounted on 1911s, high points, M&Ps. Like it was all overshot. And so apparently the word is that these COA red dots are so popular that Aimpoint was not prepared for the amount of interest in them. And so they are I don't know if they're going to increase production or what they're going to do, but they're going to try to have more of them available. But pleasantly surprised for them that these things, they were like, holy cow, they literally cannot make enough of these red dots. And considering that they're not the cheapest red dot in the world, in 2026, good for them. I saw this and I almost couldn't believe it. I was like, what the hell? This can't be right. And there's a Turkish company, I don't know a Turkish shotgun company. It's like, oh boy, here we go. Turkish shotguns. I've never owned a Turkish shotgun. People have tried to convince me to get them. And I hear now that maybe some of their Benelli clones aren't bad, as much as that pains me to say that. Some Turkish company has decided to clone the SPAS 12, SPAS 12 shotgun. And now my understanding is that that it's not an exact clone. I don't know what is not. It's something mechanically inside the action of the gun, but it is a semi-automatic, selected to pump. It's got the guards. It's got the folding stock with it looks like that, almost like that Remington Riot stock, whatever that thing is. And I'm telling you, it looks like a SPAS 12 to me. Are we going to buy one? No. Why? Because we have a SPAS 12. So, and I'm going to say this right now, if you want a SPAS 12 and you don't want to spend the money that they want for a SPAS 12 and you want to buy this gun, absolutely buy this gun. If you want the experience, absolutely buy this SPAS 12. Why not? Good times, shooting guns and having fun. But understand something, because you need to hear it, because they're not going to tell you when you're doing an interview at SHOT Show. No one's going to tell you the truth. If you think you're going to get a SPAS 12 and you're going to go to your local shotgun class and you're going to go to your local training academy and you're going to go to a Rob Hott class and you're going to be, burning it down with your SPAS 12 and like being like the cool guy, dude, you are in for a world of pain and suffering because the SPAS 12 sucks donkey dicks. It is a terrible shotgun. And you will figure that out when you're trying to do shit on the clock with other people around you. But, you know, don't buy it. I'm just buy it. I'm saying buy it. But, you know, if it's the one shotgun that you're like, I'm going to rule the world, I'm going to be a shotgun guy, I'm going to build a career as known as the shotgun guy, don't try to do it with a SPAS 12. I don't know, maybe you're like maybe you'll be like one of the one guy that can shoot a single action, you know, as fast as, you know, like in Hollywood, but no one else can do it. And maybe you can pull it off with a SPAS 12. So, but I thought that was fun. You know, these Turks, these crazy guys, they are literally there. You can tell that they've definitely tapped in to the American, you know, historical reproduction, old school gun market. They're coming out with, they're knocking everybody off. They're coming out with these, you know, these clones, Delta Force, 1980s Delta Force guns. They got a contract with Camp Perry supposedly for new production GI 1911s. And now another Turkish company's making SPAS 12 copies. I mean, you know, I don't know a whole lot about the Turks, but I imagine there's a bunch of dudes. I'll tell you what, there's a bunch of dudes in Turkey that know how to run a firearms company, and they certainly know how to run a firearms company better than H&K and Colt have known how to run a firearms company over the past 25 years. And if that hurts your feelings, you don't know anything, because it is true. Okay, quick mention. I just thought it was fun. And not that this is like something that like, you know, no one's ever done this before. I mean, like you can do this kind of on your own, but Palmetto State Armory, PSA, they've basically got a Masterkey shotgun that you can put under, you know, under slug on an M4 and, you know, use it as a breaching shotgun. That's what it is. And if you don't know what a Masterkey is, it's a 12 gauge shotgun without a stock that bolts on to the, basically in the same position a grenade launcher does on your M4. And then, you know, on a breach, you can breach with the Masterkey, and then you can go through the door, or if something happens, you still have a fully functional M4 in your hand the entire time. So I don't know what that's going to cost. I don't know if it's going to be a destructive device, AOW, SBS. I'm sure it's going to be one of those things. But you know, that was kind of fun that they did that. I guess another one of the really big things that came out at SHOT Show was, I haven't really followed this that closely. I guess there was some drama about this particular type of gun last year. So there is a, and I've seen different names. I can never keep this straight, but I just remember seeing them in the Chechen War. There's this Russian looking little AK looking gun, but it's smaller, and it's not really quite an AK, but you can tell it's Russian. And they tend to be integrally suppressed, and they're in a it's basically the Russian Soviet version of 300 Blackout. They're in a caliber called 9x39. And so, you know, you'll see these guns, they probably use them in video games and movies like assassin guns, or, you know, they're whatever. And I've seen different, like the one that someone has shown up this year with, it looks like they're making them now in the US, and it looks like they may actually pull it off, as opposed to some people that said they were going to do it last year. They're calling it the SR3M, and that sounds like some Russian Soviet nomenclature number for their rifle. I've heard people call it the Victor, V-I-K, or Vicker, V-I-K-H-R, possibly. And it's just this AK gun. They're cool. I think they're integrally suppressed. This company's apparently going to be making the ammo again. We'll see. If you want one of these guns, do not be the first people to give them money. Let people like myself or the YouTuber dudes get the guns and shoot them and see what happens and see if they deliver, because you don't want to get hung up on somebody's gun projects as you know, running a business over here, and we have like some major money wrapped up in gun projects that have essentially failed. Let me tell you something, that sucks ass, and the average person cannot handle that. If you're interested in this gun, keep an eye out for it. I'm sure all the cool kids will pop up with them if they're real, start making videos on them. I think that Mac guy will probably, the Mac guy, he, you know, he'll definitely pop up with one if they're real. And one thing about him is I don't know Mac. I've never met the man. But I feel like if he's not happy with the gun, he just start bitching about it right on the video. So I feel like, you know, if Mac likes it, it'd probably be all right. So, you know, wait and see. It's interesting to see him come out, you know, very different gun, but you know, hey, you know, hopefully it shows up. And if they become established and we don't have to be the first ones, we'll definitely pick one of those up. Speaking of PSA, but really this is H&R, their H&R division, the Nodak Spud guy, they are coming out, they've got some clones, of the AR clones, which are super interesting. We needed to buy some of these last year. I still want to get one of those DOE guns, and I just kind of forgot about it. We've been, you know, buying all kinds of other stuff. You know, here's a clue here. We did buy a German sniper rifle, which, you know, is like a huge bite. But it's got a story. So like all the guns we buy. So, you know, instead of buying these crazy expensive guns, I should just buy some of these, you know, these clone ARs, because everybody's, you know, they're not that expensive to do or to buy. So H&R has come out with a, I guess it's called the 606, and basically it's a heavy barrel LMG with a bipod AR, with a, you know, fixed carry handle. And that looked kind of interesting and cool to me, but it just reminded me, it's like, I don't know if I'm going to buy that, but the, the DOE gun, from H&R, I definitely want to get one of those. So, there was a company, I'm like, I saw Ian McCollum did a video on this, and I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I missed this entire thing. So there's a company called Murdoch and Company, and they make semi-automatic SA-80s. So the, you know, the British green bullpup that H&K had to come in and fix and save them on. So it's no longer you know, a British Enfield gun. It's now basically an H&K gun. Yeah, that gun. There's a company in the United States, I think, that was getting parts kits making semi-automatic SA-80s for U.S. customers. And I'm like, I didn't even hear about this. I'd love to have one of those. And so I guess now they've had some success, and they're going to continue with that, and they're starting to run out of parts, and maybe they're starting manufacturing some of the furniture themselves. And I think you can either buy a Brownell's AR-18, AR-180 rifle and then buy the parts and build it, or you can buy a complete rifle from this company. So, because if you didn't know this, the SA-80 is really an AR-18. So, there's a lot of guns are really AR-18s. Thought that was interesting, worth mentioning. And the final mention from SHOT Show, and you know, I don't care if the cool kids don't like this, and it seems kind of chintzy, but Rock Island Armory or Arsenal has a gun called the Pack Out, or the PK-12, and it is a pump action shotgun that's foldable, but it folds, I think, into thirds. So it's got two hinges on it, and you see the videos, guy like throws it out like it kind of reminds you of like the collapsing stick, the walking stick that the blind guy uses, but it's boom, all of a sudden he throws it, and all of a sudden he's got a shotgun in his hand. And, you know, it's Rock Island, it's RIA, Rock Island. Like, I mean, how expensive could that be? It can't be that expensive. It's probably an 870 with some hinges on it. I'm like, yeah, I mean, if we can run across one of those, I'm definitely going to pick up a Pac-12 shotgun, because it's just different and interesting, and, you know, it'd be fun to have it. So, all right, well, this wraps up episode 393 of my my roundup from what I saw from at SHOT Show. And if you saw anything that I missed, you can please leave in the comment section below. Remember, it's all about shooting guns and having fun. Everybody, have a good night.